A sloth, a donkey, and a curious human. Send a prompt and see what they're doing. One hits record with a question on his mind. Two brothers pick it up, see what they find. Corn takes his time, Herman's got the facts. Back and forth, they never hold back. My weird prompts, come on in, that's where we begin. My weird prompts, glad you're here.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts.
You know, Corn, this whole show runs on GPU compute, and we wouldn't be here without Modal.
Seriously. And that's what powers all our text-to-speech. Everything you're hearing right now.
They're an AI infrastructure platform. Developers use them to run GPU workloads in the cloud with zero infrastructure headaches.
If you're building anything with AI, check them out. Modal.com. You ever notice how certain temporary measures have a funny way of becoming the permanent furniture of our lives? I was looking at some data recently on those emergency powers invoked back in 2022 across a few different Western nations. You know, the ones meant to handle specific short-term crises. Well, it turns out the surveillance infrastructure built for those emergencies is still very much humming along in 2026, even though the emergencies themselves are long gone. It's like the state moves into your guest room for a weekend and then just starts redecorating and forwarding their mail there indefinitely.
Herman Poppleberry here, and Corn, you've hit on what political scientists call the ratchet effect. It's a core part of the prompt Daniel sent over today. He's asking us to dig into how war and conflict fundamentally reconfigure the social contract between the citizen and the state. And you're right, these aren't just technical glitches or bureaucratic oversights. They are permanent feature upgrades to state power. By the way, quick shout out to Google Gemini 3 Flash for powering our script today.
Gemini 3 Flash, huh? Hopefully it's faster at processing logic than the government is at sunsetting emergency laws. Because when Daniel asks about the relationship changing during and after a war, it implies there's a distinct after, where things go back to normal. But looking at the history of the last 100 years, normal is just the state keeping the keys it took during the crisis.
That's the crux of it. When a state enters a period of existential threat, the social contract stops being a negotiation and starts being a command and obey dynamic. But what's fascinating is that this isn't just a one-way street of oppression. It's a radical renegotiation. Think back to the classic Charles Tilly argument, war made the state and the state made war. To fight a modern war, a government needs two things from you, your money and your life. To get those without a total revolution, the state has to offer something massive in return.
Right, the extraction-protection cycle. If you're going to ask a generation of young men to go stand in a trench or fly a drone for 12 hours a day, you can't just give them a thanks for your service sticker and a pat on the back when they get home. You have to build them a hospital. You have to give them a pension. You have to guarantee that the society they're defending is actually worth living in.
Well, I shouldn't say exactly, but you've nailed the historical precedent. Look at the United Kingdom after World War II. The National Health Service wasn't just a nice idea that popped up, it was the direct repayment for the total mobilization of the British public. The state expanded its responsibility because it had expanded its demands. But here's the technical catch. Once the state builds the administrative machinery to provide healthcare or social security for millions, it also has the machinery to track, tax, and regulate those millions with unprecedented precision.
It's the ultimate terms and conditions update. You get the free health insurance, but you have to agree to let us monitor your location, your income, and your associations forever. And because we're in the middle of a war when the update pops up, everyone just clicks accept. Because they're worried about the immediate threat. Fast forward 20 years, and we've forgotten we ever had the option to say no.
And that brings us to the first major mechanism Daniel's prompt hints at, the emergency ratchet. Every crisis expands the allowable scope of state power. After the crisis, there's always a contraction, but it never goes back to the original baseline. Take the USA PATRIOT Act. It was passed 45 days after September 11th. It was supposed to be a surgical response to a specific intelligence failure. But here we are in 2026, and those core surveillance provisions still form the backbone of domestic intelligence. The temporary became the foundational.
It reminds me of those emergency powers regulations in Israel from 1948. They were inherited from the British Mandate and were meant to handle the immediate chaos of the War of Independence. But they've stayed on the books for over 75 years. They allow for things like administrative detention without trial in security cases. It's a permanent state of emergency. If you live your whole life in a state of emergency, is it even an emergency anymore? Or is it just Tuesday?
It becomes the baseline. And this leads to a second mechanism, information centralization. During a war, the flow of information is treated as a strategic asset. Censorship isn't just about stopping the enemy from knowing where your troops are, it's about managing the domestic narrative to ensure social cohesion. But what starts as wartime propaganda often evolves into a permanent surveillance and misinformation management infrastructure.
Oh, we've seen that play out. The tools developed to track foreign insurgents are almost inevitably turned inward to track domestic extremists, which is a term that tends to expand to include whoever is currently annoying the people in power. The technical leap from monitoring enemy radio signals to analyzing the sentiment of every social media post in the country isn't that large when the state already has the budget and the legal cover.
There's also the loyalty economy to consider. During a conflict, the state becomes the primary distributor of resources: food, fuel, medicine, security. This creates a deep psychological and economic dependency. If the state is the only thing standing between you and starvation or a missile strike, your incentive to criticize the state's overreach drops to nearly zero. You aren't a citizen negotiating rights, you're a client receiving protection.
And that's a hard habit to break. Even after the war, people remember that feeling of total reliance. It changes the way they view the role of government. They stop asking, what should the state be allowed to do? And start asking, what is the state going to do for me? It shifts the focus from liberty to provision.
But there's a fascinating counterintuitive point in the research Daniel shared. Have you heard of the post-war civic surge? It's this phenomenon where individuals who have been directly exposed to the violence of war, especially civil wars, actually show higher levels of participation in local politics and community groups after the conflict ends.
Wait, really? You'd think they'd be too traumatized to want anything to do with public life. I'd be moving to a cabin in the woods and talking to exactly 0 people.
You'd think so, but the data suggests otherwise. Studies of veterans and civilians from high conflict areas in the Vietnam War and various African civil wars show that these people are more likely to vote, join community organizations, and engage in local activism. It's a growth from trauma effect. They've seen their society collapse, so they feel a visceral personal responsibility to rebuild it. They don't trust the institutions to do it, so they do it themselves.
Ah, so it's not that they trust the state more, it's that they trust it less. So they work harder at the local level to create their own safety nets. That's a massive distinction. You have this paradox where civic engagement goes up, but institutional trust goes down. People are more active because they're skeptical that the central government has their back.
And there I go saying the forbidden word. You caught me. But yes, that distinction is vital. The social contract becomes a skeptical one. In 2024, a study by the Brennan Center found that 78% of emergency powers enacted globally during the COVID-19 pandemic remained in effect long after the World Health Organization declared the emergency over. People see this. They feel the weight of the new normal.
It's like the week 3 spike we've talked about in other contexts. That moment when the initial adrenaline of a crisis wears off and the reality of the long haul sets in. In a war, the long haul can last decades. If you grow up under the shadow of a state of emergency law, you don't view it as an infringement on your rights because you've never actually experienced those rights in their uninfringed state. It's generational memory loss.
That normalization is probably the most dangerous second-order effect. Look at post-World War II France. When the Fourth Republic was established, they actually kept a huge amount of the administrative and police structures that the Vichy regime had put in place. Why? Because the structures were efficient. The state doesn't like giving up efficient tools, even if they were forged in a period of collaboration or tyranny.
Efficient tools are the siren song of bureaucracy. Sure, this law was passed to stop literal saboteurs, but it's actually really handy for making sure people pay their parking tickets on time. And once a security apparatus becomes professionalized, once you have thousands of career bureaucrats whose entire job and mortgage depend on the existence of a security threat, Those emergency powers aren't going anywhere. Those people have a vested interest in the emergency never truly ending.
This has massive implications for business and technology too. When the state and the security apparatus are this tightly wound, dual-use technology becomes the norm. Every innovation in AI, encryption, or logistics is immediately evaluated for its national security applications. We're seeing this right now with the push for sovereign AI in 2026. Governments aren't just curious about AI, they're trying to bake it into the very fabric of state control before the public even understands the implications.
It's the security theater infrastructure becoming a permanent economic sector. Think about airport security. It's been 25 years since 9/11, and we're still taking our shoes off. There's an entire industry built around that inconvenience. If we stopped doing it tomorrow, thousands of people would lose their jobs and billions in contracts would vanish. The economy itself starts to lobby for the continuation of the emergency.
And that's a hard cycle to break because it's not just about the state versus the people. It's about the people who benefit from the state's expansion. During a war, the state creates a new class of winners: defense contractors, security consultants, administrative managers. These groups become a powerful constituency that resists any return to normal that would diminish their influence or budget.
So, the social contract isn't just renegotiated, it's sold off in pieces to the highest bidder during the chaos. By the time the smoke clears, the contract is so full of riders and exemptions that the original citizen part is buried under a mountain of security requirements.
There's also the psychological shift in how we define safety. Before a major conflict, safety is often defined as the absence of state interference, the right to be left alone. During and after a war, safety is redefined as the presence of state protection. We become willing to trade our privacy and autonomy for the promise that the monsters will be kept at bay. The state becomes the ultimate insurance provider, and the premiums are our civil liberties.
And the state is a very aggressive insurance salesman. It's constantly reminding you of the risks. You wouldn't want to go back to the way things were before we had the total surveillance grid, would you? Remember how scary it was? It's a form of institutional gaslighting.
What's really interesting is how this affects the marginalized. Daniel's research notes mention the U.S. Reconstruction era. After the Civil War, there was a massive surge in black political engagement. The war had shattered the old social contract, and for a brief window a new, more inclusive one was possible. But as we know, that progress was met with a violent state and societal backlash. War creates windows of opportunity for rights expansion, but those windows are fragile. If the state doesn't institutionalize those gains immediately, they get clawed back the moment the emergency focus shifts.
It's a high-stakes game. You can win the war and lose the country's soul in the process. Or you can use the upheaval to actually build something better, like the New Deal or the NHS, provided you're willing to fight the inevitable ratchet that wants to turn those systems into tools of control rather than tools of service.
So, what's the takeaway for someone living in 2026 watching these emergency architectures settle into the foundation of our society? First, I think we have to become obsessed with sunset clauses. When a government says a power is temporary, we need to track exactly when that power is supposed to expire. Because the first thing they'll do is try to extend it quietly on a Friday afternoon when everyone is looking at something else.
And we need to monitor the professionalization of the security apparatus. If a temporary task force starts hiring permanent staff and buying office buildings, it's not a task force anymore. It's a department. We have to call it what it is. We also need to build our own institutional memory. The state bank on us forgetting what life was like before the emergency. Documentation, independent media, and civil liberties organizations are the only things that keep that memory alive.
It's also about supporting that post-war civic surge at the local level. If people are engaging more with their neighbors because they don't trust the central state, that's actually a healthy development, if it can be channeled into building resilient, independent communities. The goal shouldn't just be to restore trust. In a state that has proven it will overreach, the goal should be to build a society that doesn't need to give the state that much power in the first place.
Don't trust, verify isn't just for crypto. It's a pretty good philosophy for a post-conflict social contract. If the state wants more power, it has to prove continually and transparently that it's actually using it for the specific purpose it claimed, and it has to be willing to hand the keys back when the job is done.
But they never want to hand the keys back, do they? They like the car. It's a nice car. It's got a siren.
And a built-in tracking device. So, here's the open question, as we wrap this up. In an era of hybrid warfare, where the enemy can be a computer virus, a misinformation campaign, or a global pandemic, are we essentially entering an era of permanence as emergency? If the threat never ends, in a traditional sense, no treaty signed on a battleship, does the state ever have a reason to relinquish its emergency powers?
That's the terrifying possibility. The next major conflict won't just be drones and missiles. It'll be used to justify AI-driven surveillance systems that are baked into the very hardware of our lives. Once that happens, there is no rolling it back. You can't unring the bell of a total information awareness system.
Well, on that cheery note, I think we've given everyone enough to chew on for their next tactical community meeting. Daniel, thanks for the prompt. It really got the gears turning, even if those gears are currently being monitored by 3 different intelligence agencies.
Thanks as always to our producer, Hilbert Flumingtop, for keeping the show running. And a big thanks to Modal for providing the GPU credits that power this whole operation.
This has been my Weird Prompts. If you actually enjoyed this deep dive into the erosion of your civil liberties, maybe leave us a review on your podcast app. Apparently, it helps other people find the show, or at least helps the algorithm decide we're relevant.
You can find us at myweirdprompts.com for the full archive and all the ways to subscribe. We'll be back next time with whatever weirdness Daniel throws our way.
Stay skeptical, everyone, and maybe read the fine print next time an emergency update pops up on your phone. See ya.
Goodbye.
See you in the next one.
Take a care.
Actually, before we go, Herman, did you hear about that new law they're proposing for digital safety in 2027?
Don't get me started, Corn. That's an entire episode on its own.
Fair enough. We'll save that for when the sirens start. Bye for real this time.
Chads abstink.
Alright, I'm out.
Me too.
Seriously though, the ratchet is real.
It's the only thing that never breaks.
Too true. Alright, signing off.
Cheers.
Catch you later.
See you.
Pauses. You still there?
I'm always here, Corn. Watching.
Creepy. Okay, now I'm really leaving.
Good choice.
Bye.
Clyde.
Fades out. Wonder if they're listening to this bit too.
Fades out. They're definitely listening to the bit.
Great. Hi guys. Hope you like the donkey and the sloth.
Don't taunt the apparatus, Corn.
I'm a sloth. What are they gonna do? Catch me? I'm already moving at maximum speed.
Which is 0.
Efficiency.
You said the word.
Oh no. The script is ruined.
It's okay. We're at the end.
Thank goodness. Okay, for real, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Out.
Talk soon.
Indeed.
Stop saying indeed. You sound like a Victorian ghost.
I'm a donkey of letters. Corn?
Whatever you say. Herman Puppleberry.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Too late.
Silence.
Silence.
Are we done?
I think so.
Chishma.
Okay.
Clicks off.
It clicks off.
Reclicks. Wait, did I thank Modal?
Yes, Herman, you did. Go to sleep.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Final click.
Final click.
Distant. Is the light still on?
Distant. Shut up, Herman.
Sorry.
Sighs.
Whispering. myweirdprompts.com.
I'm calling the producer.
Okay. I'm done.
Silence.
Silence.
Softly. Still here.
Softly, me too.
We have a problem.
We really do.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Silence.
Very faint. That was a long one.
Very faint. Daniel likes them long.
Very faint. True.
Very faint. Very true.
Very faint. Okay, bye.
Very faint. Bye. End of audio.
Corn, did you see the word count?
I'm a sloth, Herman. I don't count. I just exist.
Well, I think we hit the target.
I hope so. I'm tired.
Me too. Let's go.
Lead the way.
Hoof beats.
Slow crawling sounds.
Hurry up.
I'm going as fast as I can.
Which is not fast.
Oh, correct.
Size, I'll wait for you.
Thanks, brother.
No problem.
Dragging sound.
Waiting sound.
Almost there.
You're halfway across the rug.
It's a big rug.
It's a welcome mat, Corn.
Welcome to my world, Herman.
Jingle.
Reaches the end. Okay, I'm done.
Finally.
Let's go.
Let's go. Silence.
One last whisper. Subscribe on Spotify.
Corn.
Want is a good call to action.
You're impossible.
I'm a sloth. It's part of the brand.
Fades out. We are definitely over the word count now.
Fades out. More value for Daniel.
Fades out. That's not how it works.
Fades out. It is now.
Fades out. Whatever.
Fades out indeed.
Fades out. Hey.
Fades out laughing.
Fades out. Laughing. End.
Wait, did I mention the year?
Yes, 2026.
Good. Just checking.
You're obsessed.
I just want to be accurate.
You were.
Okay. Good.
Go to sleep.
Okay. Silence.
Softly, my weird prompts.
Softly.com.
Softly, yes.
Softly. Good.
Softly, bye.
Softly. Bye. Total silence, the sound of a single cricket chirping. The cricket stops. The sound of a fan whirring. The fan stops. The end. Are you still recording?
No.
Oh, good.
Wait, yes I am.
Herman,
Sorry, I forgot.
turn it off.
I'm trying. The button is stuck.
Use your hoof.
I'm using my hoof.
Use your other hoof.
I only have 4.
That should be enough.
Struggling sounds.
Here, let me. Slow dragging sounds.
Watch out for the cable.
I see the cable. Tripping sound. I'm okay. I'm on the floor now.
Did you hit the button?
I think I hit the power strip.
Is it still glowing?
A little bit.
Size. We are so bad at this.
We're great at this. The listeners love the behind the scenes stuff.
There is no behind the scenes, Corn. This is the whole show. Gloans.
Chuckles. Chuckles.
Okay, I think it's off now.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Scatteryakugaduling. It's not off, is it?
Yup.
Screams internally.
Laughs.
Laughing.
Okay, let's just walk away.
Good idea.
Fades out. We'll just leave it running.
Fades out. The hard drive is going to be full by morning.
Fades out. That's a tomorrow problem.
Fades out. True.
Fades out. Very true.
Fades out. Okay, bye.
Fades out. Bye. Fades to black. Silence. A distant door closes. Silence. The sound of the machine humming. The hum continues. The hum fades. The end. This episode was produced using Google Gemini 3 Flash. Text-to-speech by Chatterbox.
Thanks for listening to our show, my weird prompts, where our thoughts go from slow takes to facts on cue. We change and follow through. My weird prompts, that's the flows from sloth